For me to sell it, for someone to look at this as an attractive business, I have to change this, find a better supplier, optimize the listing, change these things that are red flags and whatever. And then all of a sudden, by the time I'm selling the business, I'm like, this is such a good business. I really want to sell it.
How did you build out a post-acquisition strategy? Like you said before, you worked with a company that's bought businesses and you worked on their post-acquisition growth. If you own a business, you typically want to grow it. So what were the things that you first looked at, digested processes, and then what sort of strategies did you put in place?
You can't just decide tomorrow, I'm going to sell and get the best deal for a business. You have to plan it out, talk to professionals, understand what's going to happen every month leading up to your exit.
Hi, I'm Jaryd Krause. I am the host of the Buying Online Businesses podcast, and today I'm speaking with Andri Sadlik, and he is the head of product and strategy leader with a track record of building and scaling software businesses, AI and e-commerce brands, particularly in the Amazon FBA space. He's scaled an 8-figure portfolio, also co-founded a SaaS company that he's looking at exiting called ProductPinion, and has featured in many media publications talking about scaling online businesses. And in this pod, we talk about how Andri built his first business and made his first exit, why he made the exit, and then we dove into who bought the business and where did he decide to sell the business and what were the challenges he's had with the exit. We talked about one broker he worked with and what a mess that was before he moved to another broker. And then we move on to talk about his experience in working in the Amazon aggregator space and helping people scale their businesses they have just acquired. So putting into place post-acquisition growth strategies. And we move into what they did to grow these Amazon businesses from 6 to 7 and 8-figure brands, and have this great portfolio of businesses in similar niches, and how each business's systems and teams leveraged off each other and what they did to work. We also talk about the influencer marketing programs that he built inside Amazon and outside of Amazon using Shopify and other means. We talk about how he's looking at making an exit in his business and where he's moving to next. If you're thinking about selling or acquiring an e-commerce business, and especially scaling it, whether it's on Amazon or off Amazon, this is a very valuable episode, and I'm sure you're going to love it. I had a delightful time speaking with Andri, and I'm sure you will too. Andri, welcome to the pod. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Jaryd. Good to be here.
There's so much to talk about and discuss on this pod with you. You've exited your FBA brand. You've scaled many brands. You're a co-founder of a software business. You're in tech. First, I want to ask you, have you ever bought a business yourself?
I haven't bought a business myself, but I've been on the buyer's end in terms of scaling, operating businesses that the company purchased.
Okay, so you've not worked on the buyer side with the acquisition, but you've worked in scaling up post-acquisition, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I'll definitely bring that up soon. But first, congrats on your exit. I know it was a while ago, but what was your e-com biz? What was your FBA business, and what was the reason for selling it?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. That was a few years ago. That was like late 2020, but yeah, it was a 3-year-old business, and I decided to sell it just to, first of all, prove the concept, free my mind and attention for other projects. And that actually allowed me to co-found a software business. And honestly, when I started the business, I had no idea I'm building it to sell. It was just a business for myself. But later on, I realized it is sellable. And then I saw that as an opportunity and a learning experience.
Yeah, awesome. And where do you sell it? How did you define a buyer?
I worked with a couple brokers. One wasn't a very successful collaboration, and then the other one is the one that led to a proper exit. So yeah, I had a lot of help on the way.
Yeah. So what were the biggest challenges you faced during the selling process? And it might be with the first broker that you tried, or maybe even just regular challenges that you had with the broker that you made the exit with? What were some of the biggest challenges you faced? And just for people thinking about making an exit with their e-com brand or business in
Yeah,
general.
if I can share any advice in terms of choosing who to sell with, if you're going to use a broker, I'd say triple check their process, not only on paper, but like go through it, talk to people who sold with them before to make sure that the way their system is working is equally beneficial to the buying side and to the selling side. Back when I was selling and the first broker I tried to sell with, I realized only once I signed the papers and started working with them that the way they work is focusing on pleasing the buyer, meaning they had an ability to extend timelines for due diligence, and they could change their offer later on. Long story short, I was getting decent-ish offers, and then 1-2 months later, after they learned everything about my business, they're like, you know what? I see these risks. I'm going to offer you 50% less. And all of that time, I'm off the market, and I lost all of the efforts I put into selling the business. And it's also a mindset thing because you don't really put 100% of your efforts into growing it further. So that's one thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point, is to make sure you vet the broker and make sure they're on your side. It's an interesting one, why they would not be on your side when they could make more money. That's typically
I think they were
how.
focusing on the volume.
Yeah, that's a very interesting case. And you're right though, when you are selling your business, normally you take your energy and focus away from growing it because you know you're going to sell it soon, right? But it is an unfortunate thing when that happens, because what if you don't sell it and then you've just had a couple of months of taking your eyes off the prize? And it's typically better to keep the energy and focus on the growth of the business at the same level until the closing date. Typically. And that's just most people. That's what I find is most people do is they just see that, like, okay, even if I don't sell it in the first month, maybe in the first, maybe 3 months time, I'll sell it and the business will maintain everything up until that current trajectory, which is not actually true. And it's so much nicer, even if you do sell the business, to walk away knowing you've done everything you can to make sure it's growing up until it's in that person's hands and you're giving them the best sort of asset you can for what they're purchasing for. It's quite an ethical thing to do, and typically they're the best people to buy from, and they're the best sellers. And it's just something that we learn. I've been there. I'm not perfect. It's just a tricky thing. And if the broker's not helping you with that, which is their job, it's a unfortunate thing. So I agree with you, checking the process. Were there any other challenges that you faced that you thought were quite hard that would be important for first-time sellers to think about?
I think in terms of valuation, you might need to check multiple sources. Don't just trust the first thing that comes from your broker who's like, oh, I think your business is worth this. You need to use this multiple. I would challenge that. I would talk to others because I realized probably mid-process that I could have priced my business higher, especially being in the aggregator hype of late 2020, 2021.
Absolutely, yeah.
And a friend of mine who sold after me got this advice, and he essentially increased his price point as soon as they listed. Because what happens often is the buyers want to negotiate. They kind of expect to get some kind of discount. Maybe not a crazy deal, but they want to negotiate. So if you don't end up in multiple bid situation, you might have to sell it for less than you planned for. So keep that in mind. I would price it slightly higher, and only if there's no interest whatsoever, drop it a little bit. You can still do that later.
Absolutely. Typically, most deals that get brought by professionals that understand, the value of a business are buying it for less than the asking price, typically. But
that's how they make money.
That's how they make money. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the asking price isn't the sale price. It never is. That's a very, very important one to understand. When you were getting your business ready for sale, how long did you give yourself before you sold it, did you have some like preparation leading into the exit? And was there anything you would do differently in terms of preparing for an exit?
Yeah, and that's an excellent question, Jaryd. I think that's the first thing I advise people who ask me about the exit process. You have to prepare for it. And if it's, say, within a few million, I'd say at least a year of preparation to make sure that your last year's books show the best picture. And in my case, with the Amazon FBA business, there's a lot of money sitting in the inventory, especially if you're launching, you're taking big bets. So I wouldn't advise launching products in the 12 months leading up to the exit, because you might launch something that doesn't do well and you spend all the money, and on the books, it's going to look like you're not as profitable.
Crap.
Right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't grow too aggressively the last year. You kind of want to optimize to show that operationally it's sound, it's as profitable as it can be. So that's the main thing. You can't just decide tomorrow, I'm going to sell and get the best deal for your business. You have to plan it out, talk to professionals, understand what's going to happen every month leading up to your exit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's even like understanding what makes the business more attractive. And a lot of people don't want to buy a job, and decreasing your hours, systemizing things, having virtual assistants take over tasks if you need, those sort of things really, really do help. And at least a year. Sometimes people, prepare over a 3-year time frame. And they have 2 years of hardcore growth and then a year of making it super profitable, systemized. It just depends. I mean, you owned your business for 3 years. Yeah, it's the ideal situation, but it's, you're going for a bigger cash grab that way, and you'll just have a longer lead time, but it's not for everybody as well. Let's be honest,
Yeah, and something to keep in mind,
a year
Jaryd,
is still a long time.
Totally. Something else to keep in mind with preparation is once you mentally agree that you're going to sell the business, and that was my experience, you will start making the business better, not just for the future buyer, but for yourself as well. Up until I realized it's sellable, I was just running it in whatever way that I knew. Once I realized I will sell it, most likely, I was like, okay, wait, this is not just for me to tolerate this inefficiency. This is not just for me to be less profitable. For me to sell it, for someone to look at this as an attractive business, I have to change this, find better supplier, optimize the listing, change these things that are red flags and whatever, right? And then all of a sudden, by the time I'm selling the business, I'm like, this is such a good business. Do I really want to sell it?
Yeah, that's very common. Very common for somebody that is looking to, and this is why, some advisors, what I do is on the exit side is growth advisory and exit advisory, which can lead up to a year. And you don't just want to do that on an agreement that you're going to sell the business, because you get to the point that you do all this work and helping them prepare for exit, and then they don't want to sell it, then you've just worked for free. So that's why people like myself charge for exit advisory, even if it's just a 3-month thing, because typically you can get the business in a state where they're like, hang on a second, like I can actually achieve my goal if it's not just like a cash out deal, which isn't that typical. Most people, it's a resource, like a time resource deal that they want to have more time to be able to spend on other things. Normally you get the business to that state, but it's still making money. It's like, why would I leave it when I've reached my goal of having that time now?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Now, I want to shift gears a bit and talk about the growth that you've had for businesses. But before we do move into that, how did you build out a post-acquisition strategy? Like you said before, you've worked with a company that's bought businesses and you've worked on their post-acquisition growth. What did you just move into? And the reason I ask is somebody that, like everybody that's listening to this podcast, if they're going to buy a business, if you own a business, you typically want to grow it. So what were the things that you first looked at, digested processes, and then what sort of strategies did you put in place?
So now you're referring into my history part where I was running brands in a VC-backed aggregator. So after the exit, I co-founded the software, but while we were growing it, it's bootstrapped. I also joined an aggregator based in London that is in the business of buying Amazon FBA brands and scaling them. So the way they look at acquisition and what they do post is, first of all, they're trying to find a deal. So they're trying to find a business where their expertise can significantly increase the value. So even if they have to sell it soon, it's not a long-term play. It's an easy, risk-free purchase, right? So what they would usually do, they would buy a business in the space where they already have really good expertise. In their case, it's beauty or supplements. So beauty products, skincare products, or supplements, healthcare related products. And they would put their systems into the new brand, basically the same teams that work across the whole portfolio, to first of all, optimize the listings, optimize the ad strategy, and overall systemize operations to always stay in stock, which is always a big issue for physical products brands. And on Amazon, if you're out of stock, it's the worst thing that can happen, because then you lose all of the ranking and the algorithm
and the
starts tracking history of, exactly, of zero sales and so on and so forth. So all of these things that sound simple, but if you do them well, they can easily grow the business. So I was on the execution of that part because of my experience with my own brand, and mainly leading the main brand they had, the biggest brand they had, to grow it as much as possible within Amazon and off Amazon. Long story short, it's now in Costco and other major retail stores, which is not an easy thing to achieve for an e-commerce brand. And it's like, even within the time I was growing it, within like a year, we doubled the brand. And we bought it for like super, super small amount. Now it's like monthly sales are way more than that. So the work that was put into growing it was incredible. The market was great. I really like the consumable products, because people have a reason to come back and buy again if they like it. So something else to keep in mind if you buy in a business, look for a model of recurring purchases. And what I think was also done well is cross-team collaborations. So something I wasn't able to do myself with my own brand because I was basically the sole operator, is leverage other people's skill sets and talents, and brainstorm together and collaborate in different ways to find new solutions, to attack new markets, to collaborate with other brands, to use influencers. I've done a lot of work in that space and now consult brands and building brand ambassador programs. That can be a big lever too. So all of that, let me know what sounds interesting and what we should dive into more.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating that growth by acquisition is, and you don't have to do growth by acquisition and merge companies into one another. You can just buy multiple companies under one entity and build out a holding company and leverage off each other. For example, if you got one amazing Amazon PPC star that's great in this particular vertical, why not just buy a bunch of businesses and use that skill set across them all? And the same with listing optimization, and the same with, everything like influencer marketing. I am curious about influencer marketing and building out influencer marketing programs. What did that look like?
Yeah, so that actually happened quite accidentally, to be honest with you. I went for a little vacation / conference. I don't know if they're still doing this, but it was an online seller cruise. And over the course of that online seller cruise, I spoke to some people who were on the influencer side. So they're actually making money by promoting products. And I realized there's this program by Amazon. It's called Amazon Creator Connections. That's essentially an Amazon's way of copying TikTok shop model, but in a very, very clunky way that still somehow works. And as soon as I was back, I think it was like January 2024, I just enrolled into it with the main brand. and started creating campaigns the way I thought would work. And the way you do it with Amazon Create Connections, you create a campaign, you describe why this is a great opportunity for influencers to join. You offer them a commission, normally within the range of like 20 to 40-ish%, depending on your margins and what the goals are. And they can just say yes, submit their content. You don't even talk to them. There's no back and forth. There's no outreach to find the right influencers. And you start seeing sales coming through that channel, which is pretty incredible because it doesn't really add too much workload. And you can offer nothing crazy, not more than what you would spend in PPC ads, and bring new traffic to your listings, very often new to brand customers, because these influencers tend to advertise outside of Amazon too. So it's a win-win-win. Now, what I started doing after I realized it's working even with me just creating campaigns, I was like, how do we build this into a long-term brand ambassador program that we can leverage for other purposes? Let's say new product launches or re-ranking some products that struggle. I always loved the part that Amazon's missing, the part of building a brand where you collect customer data and you have a conversation with your customers. As an Amazon brand, you can't really do that because Amazon controls the customers. Yeah, it's Amazon's customer, right? Now with Shopify brands, that's the whole story, right? It's own marketing. So in our case, where we're heavily Amazon brand, number 1 best-selling in the niche, and number 8 best-selling product in the beauty space at some point. So I realized that we have leverage this way. We have a lot of attention. A lot of smart influencers actually sign up because they see the success on Amazon. They're like, yeah, I can easily sell this because it's popular. So what we did, I started very, very scrappy. I just created a Google form with a bunch of questions. So anyone who would want to get a sample, and that's basically their main goal. At the very least, they're like, I'll get a free product, right? So everyone who would want to get a free product would have to go through the form, fill out their name, mailing address, email, answer some questions about what kind of audience they have, include a link, and then the virtual assistant would go through these applications and filter out those who have, in our case, 10,000 followers or more. And if they have 10,000 or more, we tag them as a VIP because we know they have a good potential of actually bringing traffic from outside.
Is this 10,000 YouTube subscribers or is it followers on Instagram as well?
Either or. So Instagram, okay, YouTube, TikTok, that was another part of the strategy, but different team. So if they have 10,000 or more, then we would consider them. Sometimes you look at them and you're like, okay, this is just a Facebook page. It has, 10,000 likes, but doesn't really matter. So you kind of have to make your own judgment. Yeah. So I would say there are 3 major categories that we were filtering them into. So regular creator, just person interested. Then second one, a VIP. So someone has lots of followers. Third one, deal group. Apparently there are lots of deal groups. So people who make money by sharing the best deal with their community, and community buys and they make their commission. And based on that, we would follow up with them differently. So regular creator gets an email saying, thank you so much for applying. Welcome to the program. Here's a link to our assets, like visual assets that you can use to promote the products. And we're going to be watching your performance. And now you're part of the family. If we start seeing that you're bringing sales, you're going to get samples later. So now they have something in addition to images on the Amazon listing to use to bring the traffic and make money. We don't spend anything on them. And if they start doing well, we might move them to VIP manually. Now, VIPs are getting an email saying, hey, can you please confirm this mailing address? Realistically, just a reason for them to receive an email. And can you please confirm you're going to post this on your socials? Because we want them to post outside of Amazon too. And if they say yes, and mail address usually matches up, at least we get the response. We know they're serious. We can communicate back and forth. Then we send the samples. So I would say out of 1,000 people, maybe 3 to 5 actually get the samples. Okay.
Wow. Very
low. With deal groups, similar story to regular creators. We thank them for joining. and we put them into a different bracket, and they get notified when there's a deal. They get notified when there's like a best deal, lightning deal, prime deal, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, because with them we can supercharge the deal, and Amazon loves external traffic. And they help us get to best deals in beauty space, page 1 on Amazon. They bring all the traffic at the right time. They're not really interested in any other thing, so it's a win-win as well. So that's kind of brief overview, but there's one secret step I've done after that if you want to hear that.
Absolutely.
So the secret part, I don't think anyone's really doing this yet. The best VIPs, the ones who are easy to talk to, the ones who perform the best, we would send them an email asking, would you be down to create a product comparison video? Usually they say yes. So what does it mean? We would send them our product and our best-selling competitor in the space. For example, it could be something like La Roche-Posay. So any legacy brands that automatically have crazy traffic. They would compare Andri's brand with that super famous brand. And then usually they would just follow criteria that we give them. So I would ask, would you want some help? I can give you some bullet points, how to compare. And the answer is yes. Any help is good help. And they use these criteria to highlight where we're actually better. So all the traffic that goes to these legacy listings, there's a small percentage of people who really research. Maybe it's like 5 to 10%. They watch every video, they read all the negative reviews. Those will actually learn that Andri's brand is better because of A, B, and C. This ingredient, being vegan, or some other things that I know we're better. And I gave them in their criteria to compare. And these people just go to our listing and we acquire new customers. So you can leverage other people's listings this way, because when they upload the video on Amazon, they tag all the products on the video. And I believe up to 3, they show up on all of the listings. But something to keep in mind, Amazon's always A/B testing things, always rotating things.
It can
so
change
you won't
things,
see, you won't see these videos all the time. But if you have a lot of them, there will be some of them in there. And try to make it organic. Don't just compare the exact same products. You can also do stuff like skincare routines and so on and so forth.
And you have to be ethical about it as well, realistic and fair. And it's a great way to be able to highlight your products on other popular product pages and listings for sure. I love that.
Especially if people actually compare these anyway. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people do. If it's a purchase that they're going to, say, skincare, they're going to use regularly, they want to find something that's set and forget. They want to do the research now and buy it for a year or a few years, versus just, I just want to buy this and just test it to see how it goes. You're really targeting the right people that you want, which is long-term, high CLTV customers, customer lifetime value, right?
Yeah, exactly. And just for you to have an idea of how much impact this can make, from nothing in a year, 11% of the sales were coming through creator connections, influencers only. So that doesn't even take into account every other influencer we worked with, doesn't take into account TikTok Shop. That was another team's project. So purely creator connections. So if you are in that consumable space, especially if it's like beauty space, easy to show on the video, I definitely recommend you look into it.
I love that. So do you continue to help brands scale? What do you mostly do these days, and what are you working on and looking forward to next?
Yeah, so currently I have a client who I'm actually building out this brand ambassador program for. There's some other automations that I'm excited to experiment with for them. But as we're speaking, I'm in the transition period because I'm exiting my software business. My partner is actually buying me out this time, so it's not a public sale. So once that's all completed, I probably will stay in the tech space or e-commerce and tech, some kind of combination, because I really like both. So that's where I'm at.
Cool. Congrats on the exit. Really, really excited for you. And when you say you'll stay in the tech space, do you mean e-com and tech, or just tech?
open to everything, but realistically, a lot of the contacts that come to me and talk about future plans come from the e-commerce space, just because I'm pretty well connected in the Amazon FBA and e-commerce space. Yeah. But we'll see. I'm very fascinated with the AI and what we can do there. So there are really no limits.
Absolutely. I love that. Congrats on what you've done. And I'm super excited for you to have this new platform to build upon. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where you're at in a year's time. And yeah, thanks so much for coming on and sharing.
Thank you, Jaryd.
So where can people reach out if they feel like, they might be able to leverage some of your expertise and you could work with them? Is it best LinkedIn? Should I just put your LinkedIn there and people can reach out to you?
LinkedIn is probably the best, but really any social media. I'm the only Andri Sadlik in the world. So if you just type it, you'll find me. Super down to meet like-minded entrepreneurs.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on. Everybody who's listening, thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.